Well, that's right. There was a headline in Newsweek back on July 28th that said, quote, "Is Las Vegas in trouble?" The reason, obviously, our decline in tourism numbers, and it's not by just a little.
Very concerned because it's slow. When I drive down the strip going to work in the morning, and I barely see visitors out there.
Shalia Taylor is a housekeeper at Aria.
When I'm clocking in the morning, I look, I'm like, wow, it's pretty empty in here.
She's seen the slowdown.
So when you start not to see a lot of people, you start to worry, you know? And this is the time I'm worried.
And there's good reason to worry. The COVID restrictions across Nevada were lifted in June of 2021. In that year, we saw about 32 million visitors, up 69% over 2020. In each year since then, 2022, 23, and 2024, when we reached over 41.6 million, our visitor numbers have continued to grow. But
Okay, a lot of good information here. The reason why I wanted to react to this video is because it's a unique thing happening. And for those of you who do not know, and before we get started, do a little housekeeping. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, comment, share. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Those of you who do not know, if you've ever been to Vegas, it's a very transient town or city, and it's it's usually an event. You're going there for some conference. You're going there for uh, a little cheap getaway, especially if you're living on the West Coast. It's kind of a cheap. You can get there pretty easily, have a great time, relatively expensive. Excuse me, fighting off a sneeze. And when in terms of the economy, Vegas is kind of like that canary in the coal mine. It's kind of like a leading indicator, if you will, to let you know, like, okay, how healthy is our economy? And if economy is good, you usually find there's a lot of events happening in Vegas. There's a lot of travel there. There's a lot of things happening. The same, there's lots of different indicators. Vegas is one that I particularly look at. Another one is like business travel. Is business travel or business spending for employees to travel? It's usually like an indicator for me too. But y- when you start to study the economy, you start to see, like, look at it holistically, right? There's obvious things you can see. And as you begin to see that, you become astute. That's kind of how you find the deals, right? That's kind of how you find real estate. That's okay. Well, if this is like everyone was down on Michigan, but then there were a handful of people who were experienced when Michigan back in 2008 went through what they went through. It was a good time to buy. Now, all those people who are bought in Michigan is just flipped the script. Did it take some time? Sure. But that's why you buy based on cash flow. Say all that to say, this was interesting to me because, again, Vegas is one of those indicators that I like to look at. So let's listen to what they have to say.
through June of 2025, the visitor numbers have plunged by over 7% compared to the first 6 months of last year. But why? Culinary Union leader Ted Papageorge blames the White House, calling it a Trump slump triggered by hostile feelings overseas that are hurting international tourism, especially from Canada, and illegal immigration policies.
So do you think that people who would ordinarily come here for the weekend right now are just a little uneasy about leaving California?
Well, that's what we're hearing, and that's what we're hearing from certain companies that have reached out to us. Look, what the fear is that this riling up the economy, this idea of mass deportations, mass tariffs, would bring on a slowdown.
But economist Mike Pequane believes it's more than that.
Well, we have economic uncertainty among the people that live in America, right? We have inflation that has caused people problems in the last few years. We have higher interest rates. We have things like that that are causing people to wonder if they are going to be okay to spend money on recreation. Then we have international issues. We have international immigration and political issues that seems to have caused a decline in international.
Okay, so again, if you guys have ever been to Vegas, one of the things is a lot of the staff in Vegas, I can't say they're illegal, but I will say a lot of them don't speak English. That doesn't mean anything. Um, you take from that what you will. But that being said, you got to start to wonder. You put two and two together, look at the clues. You see, like, okay, well, that's a negative impact it's having, right? And then you look at. So the unique thing about Vegas too is their food, right? If you go to any restaurant, they don't have Vegas doesn't really grow anything. They import a lot of their food. So seafood, all that stuff, it's all imported. So if you get a steak from one place, it's all made from the same they all buy from the same suppliers. So it's not unique. And I had a friend of mine who did his internship in Vegas and kind of told me that. Whereas you go to a place like, Portland, where Portland actually grows their own food and source all their so they have their own local stuff where it's more farm to table friendly. I say all that to say when you are facing those challenges where you're not having your staff, you're not having looks like restaurants are empty, hotels wait staff is empty. I'm sure distribution has to be affected as well. All of these things start to compound together, and it really starts to again be an economic indicator that things aren't doing so well. Um, it's just a big. What I'm trying to say is it's a big chain reaction. It's a series of events that happen, and it just starts to unravel, and the data starts to show up. But this is again very interesting to see what this is gonna be looking like in the coming days. Let's see. I don't think there's much of this stuff, but let's see.
National visitors.
Those numbers are equally concerning. According to the latest passenger totals from Harry Reid International Airport, 272,390 international passengers came through the gates in June. That's down a whopping 10% over May, 10% over June of last year, and 1.4% year to date, and a 4% drop in international and domestic passengers combined. The uncertainty felt all the way from the airport to the hotels.
I'm worried. Like, what are we going into? What's going to happen?
So who stands to feel the most pain when the visitor numbers decline? Obviously, people in the hospitality industry, but it goes much deeper than that. We'll take a closer look tomorrow night when I continue our Las Vegas reality check. Reporting live from downtown Las Vegas, Steve Wolford, News 3. Back to you.
Yeah, it just says something interesting to keep your eyes open, follow it, and I'll be following it too. But again, I just want to Vegas to me is that canary in the coal mine. I always like to look at that first to kind of see what's happening. So, anyways, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the like button on your way out. All right, take care. Bye.